Hello everybody, it's Emily here. So we're up to the fifth limb of yoga, sixth limb of yoga in my philosophy videos, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about the sixth limb of the eight limb path, and moving into the sort of more subtle aspects of yoga practice, and we're moving into the meditation side of things. And philosophy, it can be a little bit dry, so I'm going to try and integrate a little bit of practice into this one as well. So yeah, if you're joining live, then I'll just give you a very short practice to do. So, hey Mandy, how are you? So yeah, I've been traveling through the last 7 weeks or 8 weeks, talking about the yoga philosophy of the Sutras, of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And it's a really kind of accessible way for modern yogis to understand some of the philosophy, because the philosophy is really broad and wide and deep, and can sometimes be a little bit kind of dry and difficult to kind of get across. And it's great to integrate it into practices and into classes so that we sort of get bite-sized pieces. But I'm jumping on these Instagram lives just to give you some little tastes and short practices that sort of help you to understand this eight-limbed path of yoga. So if you haven't joined me for the previous 5 limbs of yoga, then you can watch those videos back. But basically we've talked about the ethics, we've talked about the qualities that we bring to our practice, we've talked about asana, or taking our seat, or using your body, pranayama, the breath work, and then the pratyahara, which is withdrawing of our senses and turning inwards. So this is like this map, but one of my teachers also talks about it as a ladder, which I love, this idea that it's like a ladder. So it's a step by step, but we always need to, still have one foot on the lower rungs. So we don't this is not in my kind of roots of my philosophy, it's not about then transcending the body, and being up here and out there. It's always about coming back to how we live in the world and how we embody the practices. So even though now we're moving into these last 3 limbs of yoga, which are often called together Samyama, and it's very much about meditation, but we still always need to be coming back to the other practices as well, and the ethics and the embodiment. So hey, if you're joining live, I'm just talking about the 6th limb of yoga now, which is called Dharana. And Dharana, interestingly, in this yogic system, this philosophy, is separated a little bit from meditation. So these 2 limbs, 6 and 7, are called Dharana and Dhyana. And Dharana means concentration, and Dhyana means meditation. And so we've moved from using our bodies and using our breath, and that starts to really bring that those qualities of concentration in. And we've gone through pratyahara, which is this turning inwards, so letting go of the external senses so that we can start to prepare our bodies for meditation and prepare our minds for meditation. And then dharana is this very specific practice of concentration. And so if you've done meditation practice, then often you will have learned these tools that are concentration tools. So in meditation practice, we might use our breath and follow our breath as an anchor, as a way to bring us into the present moment. So whenever the mind wanders, so it might wander into thoughts, planning what we're having for dinner, or thinking about what we did yesterday, or planning a conversation, all of the myriad of things that our minds manage to do when we want them to be still. And so dharana is this way of finding these tools and these anchors to constantly bring our mind back to the present. And so it's a very specific practice. And we might use something like gazing at a candle flame, it's called trataka, or gazing at a mandala, like a picture, or even, in nature, like taking, using our eye gaze, focusing on something in nature. So that could be the senses of the eyes, a concentration. We often use the breath in many meditation techniques, the Vedic meditation or transcendental meditation. They would use a mantra, so a sound or a phrase that you repeat in your mind, and that brings you back to the moment. So whenever the mind wanders, you come back to hear that phrase in your mind. It could also be, even movement can also be concentration meditation if you're, absolutely focused on the raising of the arms and then bringing the hands back down again with full presence, like really intentional. There's a lot of visualization meditation can also be this focus and concentration, even though there are other qualities that we might be trying to bring in with all of those things, with mantra and with visualization. So I hope that makes sense. And next week I'm going to talk about dhyana, but I might just mention it now because it's important then to differentiate that dharana is this very specific tool of concentration, and then dhyana is actually the state of meditation that we get into when the mind becomes more still and more absorbed in whatever it is that we're focused on. And then it starts to get quite, quite esoteric and deep, and sometimes a little bit hard to grasp. So don't worry if as you get through towards the higher limbs that it becomes a little bit more kind of grey area, and it's much harder to articulate what we're doing. Rather than say ethics and asana, it's like, well, kindness is acting in this way, even though we can discuss kindness for hours and hours and hours. Asana is taking our seat with a particular quality, and breath work. We have specific practices. When we get into dhyana and even samadhi at the end, it becomes more and more subtle as we move through. So if you'd like to, if you've got any questions, let me know. So do pop any questions into the comments. I'd love to answer questions. It's one of the reasons for doing these live is to offer that interaction. We often learn so much more about a topic when we actually reflect on it ourselves and then ask questions about it, or even share our own experience about that particular practice. So feel free to ask any questions. But if you're in a place where you can sit for just a couple of minutes to do some concentration meditation or dharana, then you are very welcome to. And we're actually going to do this meditation with sound. So just going to sit for about a minute and really bring your full awareness to the sound. And I'm going to be playing my bell a few times and really hearing and feeling how the sound appears and then disappears, and bringing your full focus to it. And just as with any meditation, if you find that your mind wanders, just coming back to that sound. Yes, perfect. Love to give it a go. Awesome. So you can, if it's comfortable for you to close your eyes. If you're driving, please don't. You can close your eyes. It just helps, with that pratyahara, which is the turning of the senses inwards. So you might like to close your eyes or turn your eye gaze down, but you can absolutely do this with eyes open as well. And just maybe taking a couple of breaths. The breath can really help us to bring ourselves into present. And to fully arrive right here. And then just as we start, bringing your awareness to whatever sounds you can hear right now in your own environment. And that might be sounds outside, maybe the sounds of birds or cars. Maybe there are sounds within your own house. And without any judgment about those sounds or getting caught up in the stories about them, just noticing maybe the quality of the sound, how it arrives and passes away. And as I start to play the bell a little bit, you can start to notice how the sounds feel, the quality of the sound. If the mind wanders, just gently bringing it back to what you can hear. And seeing if you can hear the sound as it fully fades into silence. And perhaps noticing the next sounds in your space that come out of that silence again. And taking a breath, a deeper breath. And you might then just like to blink open your eyes and just for a moment take in the sights around you. So let me know how that was for you, if you felt that you were able to concentrate on the sound or whether your mind was wandering, whether you found that was a useful anchor for you. And whether, that tool makes sense for you on this path and how that kind of follows on from using our bodies and then our breath and then the withdrawal of senses before we really prepare ourselves to then get into these concentrated states. And next week I'm going to talk. Yeah, nice. Liked it. It was good to have something to focus on. Yeah, and that's really what this tool is about. Is our minds are so busy, and these anchors have been like passed down from these ancient wisdom traditions as these tools to help us to build the muscle of concentration. So that's really what it's about. It's just like we would go to the gym to build weights, to build our muscle strength using weights, and we use these tools of whether it's sound or breath or mantra to help to bring off and build that muscle of concentration, to stay in the present, to stay in the moment. And it's helpful to focus on the beautiful sound, absolutely. Makes it so much easier when it's beautiful, and makes it easier to still the mind rather than focusing on nothing. And this is something that is one of the sort of the myths around meditation, is that meditation is about stilling our mind, and therefore to still our mind we need to think about nothing. And that's hard, if not impossible. And so I'd say that's why this path of yoga, this 8-limb path, actually is super resonant because we go through these stages, and we very purposefully have this stage of concentration first to build that mental muscle of the mind to stay with stillness, and with this one point of focus, so that then when we move into meditation, which I'm going to talk about next week, which is dhyana, then we're not just trying to go straight from busyness to stillness. Like, we've trained our minds to do that. So meditation is this stilling of the fluctuations of the mind, which, if you've been with me the whole time, this was like the definition of why we do yoga, is stilling the fluctuations of the mind. And meditation is that state, but we can't just get there. We need these steps in between. We need to climb that ladder to get there. And so Dharana is a really beautiful way of explaining this step of using a tool of concentration. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I've been talking for ages, but it's so beautiful to have you guys here live and to do that practice, and to be here to comment and ask questions. So yeah, hopefully you can join me next week. I usually do this on a Friday afternoon. Homeschooling is making it very difficult. So generally I'll be jumping on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday morning to talk about this. And I'll maybe post in the stories when I'll be doing that. Yeah, I wish you could come and do a class too. You're very welcome to join us online. We do have some online classes, and offering things on Instagram and Facebook as well. So thank you, Mandy, and I'll hopefully catch you guys all soon. Okay, thanks for joining.